Hello everybody, it's the 16th of June and yeah, I know I'm moaning again, but this is another tree that I had the misfortune to lose footage on. I'd done some filming back in early spring where I chopped it back some, and then later last month when I pinched it again, and it's growing out rather nicely. This is a common English oak grown from an acorn, picked up probably maybe 7 years ago. Not exactly sure. I can tell you Cooper's just had his 8th birthday, and I was probably out walking the dog when I picked up the acorn. So yeah, let's call it 7 years ago, 6 years ago. And if I put in the good old can for scale, and then just for interest, this little tree, which is actually grown from the same batch of acorns as this one, but has been kept in small pots, whereas this one is in this whopping great big seed tray. But interestingly, if you look at the base of the trunks, shouldn't complain about the sunshine, but sometimes it does wipe out the camera a little bit. But if you look at these two, the base of these two trunks, they are very, very similar in size, despite the fact that this one is only, well, less than 6 inches tall and has been chopped several times, and it's got some quite nice taper. There will be a video on this tree later in the year, or maybe at the same time, or maybe even before, it being a timey-wimey video as well as this being a timey-wimey video. But as I say, interesting, just the kind of magic that putting a tree into a small pot can do, as opposed to a larger one like this. So all I'm going to do to this tree today is I'm going to chop back that long branch that's elongating, shorten that little piece, and shorten a few other little pieces once again. I don't want them extending too far, and despite what they say about oaks being slow growers, you know, this tree's put on, considering this is almost the second flush of growth, almost 6 inches of elongation in some of these branches already. So there we have it. Anyway, as I say, this will be a timey-wimey video, so I'll put the tree back, and you'll see it again in a few seconds. For me, it'll be, well, months till I next do any work on it. Here's another one from that same batch of acorns, and again a very similar base of trunk size, but this one's been grown in a medium-sized pot, I guess you could say. It's never been in a bonsai pot, but it's been in a seed tray for a while. And I did leaf prune this tree, and I'm still pinching out the growing tips, and it is still growing madly in all directions. It's had a fair bit of wiring over the years, and I'm not happy about this piece today. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking I'm going to chop it back to that bud. Maybe I'll show this tree a bit more often. It was starting to develop a bit more interest now. I was finding it a little bit on the dull side. Let's shorten that branch because it's too long. But maybe if guys would like to see more of it, you can let me know in the comments below. It's the 14th of July, and this tree is growing away quite nicely. I know I've read in books and online that oaks develop poorly as bonsai because they don't put out enough growth each year, and you know, very slow growers, etc, etc. But this one is kind of belying that a little. Again, it's a little bit two-dimensional. but hopefully time will rectify that. So I'm just going to be trimming back some of these long growths just to try and get it to shoot some more, and we can start building ahead, and eventually from a little acorn a mighty oak will grow, albeit a bonsai one. Not entirely happy with this long straight piece just here. Part of me feels it would be a mistake to chop it, part of me thinks I should chop it. I'm wondering what you guys think. By the time this video goes out, it being a timey-wimey one, it may be too late to implement your ideas anyway, but that doesn't stop me being interested in them, so feel free to comment. This at the moment is my projected front, and from here that piece doesn't look quite so bad. It may look awful in the winter though, when the tree is bare, and maybe if that's the case, maybe I'll chop it then. For now, I think I'll leave it. Okay, so this is another piece of footage that I forgot to turn the microphone on for. I had a bad day that day. It was in fact the 15th of August, and it's several days later where I'm recording audio afresh. So I'll try my best to remember what I said. But basically I muttered a bit about it being a particularly weedy pot, which it is, and then got on to why it's growing so lopsidedly as it has. And part of that is because I've just had it too squashed up on the bench. I also talked about the fact that oaks, being slow growers, don't put on a lot of growth, or so the tale goes, but this tree has put on a lot of growth in just a few weeks. Now I'm going to put it back on its new spot on its new bench, created, as you may have seen by the death of a whole bunch of starter trees that I neglected during the very hot weather, just by being too busy, too stupid, something. So seen from the front, and then if I turn it slightly, you can see I've bent it to lean further back, and that will allow this branch that's coming forward here to fill out some of this frontward. Frontward, is that the word? I don't want it to be an eye poker, but I do want it to come out in this direction and fill out that dimension. I also don't like that branch there. That's going to have to come off, and I think I'll just do that now while I've got the tree on the bench. It's a little bit congested in some areas, so I'm going to remove that shoot, and I have two branches coming here, which is actually the inside of this bend now, which traditionally folks would say you shouldn't have one, but I'm going to leave one of them. I'm going to remove the upper one, which is just dead straight and boring, in favour of this one that has branched off a little. I also want to remove a couple of these. I'm going to remove that piece that's growing in the centre of that fork, but not that piece. I'm going to leave that piece, and no, I'm going to remove that piece as well, but I'm going to leave that piece. Okay, that's probably all the trimming I want to do. That sets up some interesting branching. Move that piece. In actual fact, I want to shorten one of those long pieces. Let's move you back a little. I think I want to shorten that like so, and I actually think I want to take out the top of that piece like so. In fact, I want to take that back a little more. That's better. Change its appearance slightly, but I think in the longer term it'll keep the head in a little tighter and allow for some movement in some of these other branches. Okay, quick 360. And then we'll have a quick look at that littler tree that I showed you earlier in the video before we end this thing. There we go. So bearing in mind that both of these trees were grown from the same batch of acorns at the same time, you can see the base of this trunk is pretty much the same girth as the other one, but this one has been chopped and grown in a very different way. The other one was grown for trunk first. This one I've grown sort of for branches first in a sense, but it has been chopped and chopped and chopped and chopped, and now I'm not very happy with this particular branch, which I'm just going to lop off there, and I'm going to lop that one off, and then that's pretty much it until the spring. We'll wait to see if there's any dieback or anything. You know what? I don't like that branch at all, so I'll just get rid of that. That's better. That's given the tree a more elegant appearance. The trunk is kind of leaning away from you and then coming back, but I don't care. I've said many times I follow the rules when they suit me, and some of the horticultural rules are very important, but when it becomes art and what looks good, it has to look good to me on the bench, because I see it each and every day when I water the trees. And if our bonsai master was to look at it and say that's no good, it doesn't follow the rules, well, that's fine, but you're not looking at it every day, and I like it, and that's my attitude to bonsai in a nutshell, I guess. There's a couple of branches here that are going to have to be wired because they're crossing. In fact, if I take out the central one, I'll eliminate the need for wiring pretty much by shortening that and shortening that straight piece. And there we have it. There we go. Quick 360 with the can in for scale. So there you go. Thank you so much for watching. Do all the usual YouTube things, the liking, the subscribing, the commenting, but most of all, please stay safe, everybody.